Welcome to the podcast, The Colours of Womanhood. I'm your host, Chaya. The Colours of Womanhood aims to meet women exactly where they are, no matter the stage of life. As a woman who once was a girl, as a woman who transitioned from girlhood into young womanhood, marked by the onset of menstruation, as a woman who must stand up for herself and create her own path, as a woman who seeks to enjoy life, though it may not always be possible, as a woman who knows the complexities of motherhood, or perhaps doesn't, as a woman with children of her own, or a woman raising someone else's children, from a woman living in sub-Saharan Africa to one residing in France. The Colours of Womanhood tells the story of female health, women and their purpose, women and the importance of yoga in their lives. It explores women's unique relationship with their health, the influence of culture, and the deep connection women have with their inner selves. It invites women to reflect on what that connection means and the untapped potential they possess to fully embrace their health and womanhood. Welcome to another podcast of the Colours of Womanhood. And womanhood is shaped through culture, through the body, through what is spoken and what remains unspoken. In today's episode, I'm in conversation with Noushin, also known as Noush, a woman who grew up in Iran and has lived across different countries. Noushin has recently started teaching yoga, is working with the art of fermentation through kombucha for years now, and is stepping into mentoring women in self-entrepreneurship. Together, we explore what I like to call identity as fermentation. Identity as something living, shaped slowly over time by culture, movement, attention, living in different countries, in the body, rather than something fixed that we need to define. And so this is a conversation about womanhood as a practice of listening, becoming, and finding inner authority while living across borders. Welcome, Noushin.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Beautiful intro.
Thank you. So you grew up in Iran.
Yes, true.
Yeah, and womanhood there is shaped by very specific cultural, social, and often unspoken rules. When you look back now, what messages about being a woman do you feel you absorbed most deeply, whether consciously or unconsciously?
Nice question. Well, growing up there, I felt, yes, womanhood has a certain framework back in home. So it's a little bit more preservative, maybe compared to the other parts of the world, because of the effect and influence of, let's say, the sudden religious changes that happened like 40, 50 years ago, also being in those Islamic areas, even though the country has much deeper culture and a very different kind of a mindset if you go deep into the rich culture of the country. So a lot has changed and transformed very quickly during the years, and I think people, especially women, started adjusting. And what I observed as a child growing, I mean, I had very luckily great parents, but I still noticed the patterns from my mom. And I think as a girl, you normally model your mother a lot. And it was all around certain behaviors being preserved, like being very ladylike, if we call it like that. And those shaped a lot of things. Apart from that, unfortunately, because of the situation that women are in our country, I mean, you hear parts of it from media, but it's even more, vibrant when you're living that life. You don't get so much opportunities to really explore your womanhood. That's what I missed actually in the country, like womanhood in a sense of a beautiful, soft feminine that can be so at the same time romantic and soft, but sexy, and exploring everything around your even body. That's something that I think a lot of the girls, at least during the ages I was being raised there, a lot of the parents were not even conscious enough. Like even moms can play a great role when you are talking womanhood, because sometimes it's of course much more difficult for a dad to understand this. It's all about the womanhood. they were holding back. They were not aware. They were not conscious enough. And that played a role in raising young girls not knowing a lot about their own body, about a lot of different aspects of their feminine and womanhood. And that's something that I opened my eyes and realized starting to maturing up from age early 20s. And that was the time exactly that I left the country with my ex-partner. So it was 2008, so now almost 18 years. Um, so that's the part that I noticed. Wow, there is a different side of me. There is so much to explore. I mean, I'm sure it's for every woman from every culture or nation, but for me, it had a different color. It has a different dimension because, um, yeah, you don't get that chance so much in the schools there, in the education system, in the family there, because there are always center certain boundaries, certain boxes that you are in, and you don't go further than that because it just doesn't feel right. And when it doesn't feel right, you start to stick to a certain outline. So that was quite a shift for me, leaving the country and exploring a lot. I'm still filtering a lot at this age, which I'm 40 years old now, and seeing what I want to keep, and it resonates so much, and what basically I'm ready to shed off and see it with a new eye.
Do you feel comfortable to share that, what you would like to shed off and what you resonate with?
Of course, yes, it's all about this today. Well, yes, if we go to that direction, so I see part of my culture in women really being this homemaker, space makers, because hospitality is so big in our culture. And I notice it every time I have friends over. And I mean, I have friends from many different nationalities. Like, I am proud of my circle of friends and my community. They are vibrant, they are colorful, they are from all around the world and all the continents. And what they notice every time they come to my place is my sense of being able to create spaces that are really nurturing, welcoming. And I think it's all rooted very deeply in the hospitality culture. And women are the makers of this culture. I mean, bless our men as well. They are providers, they are beautiful, are masculine as well. But women are makers of this beautiful hospitality. And that's something I honor it. I really honor it, and I never want to lose it. So that's one of those, let's say, etiquettes or characters that I want to really keep it in me and really nurture it, because I see how beautiful it is and what a beautiful source and, channel for the connection it builds. That's something I really like. Also, being very sophisticated and ladylike, there are parts of it I really enjoy. Like when I'm out and when I'm in a social circle, I like my aura, I like the sophistication. And that's the part to a certain point, I want to keep it. But then there is also this wild, free spirit in me that wants to explore. And those are the parts that start to bring a new eye, a new vision to certain things. Like even my parenthood, let's say, is now more of a advocate of a conscious parenting. So I'm learning from, I have only one son and an 8-year-old, but I am a big fan of Dr. Shefali's teaching. And I really believe that I'm learning so much through the eyes of my young one. And basically, he's the one teaching me the art of living rather than me. Even though, okay, I sometimes try to keep my authority because moms back home or womanhood back home, when we talk womanhood, of course, it always goes to motherhood mostly as well. They are more disciplined and there's certain authority you have to respect. And now I give sometimes too much power, and I see my young one feels very free to talk openly his mind and speak his mind, and I adore it, but sometimes it's also challenging, but it's also part of my learning process. So that's the motherhood part. But in terms of womanhood, going through life, going and live different parts of the world, and starting recently to dive deeper to the art of yoga, for example, because before I was practicing it every now and then, but as a person who wants to teach now to others or hold space basically for others, I'm recognizing now still how foreign I am from my own body. And that's because the bodies, because of whatever you call it back home, the female body, it could be religion, it could be culture, it could be everything that happened to the women through the years, through the history. It's not celebrated enough. You know, you don't get to know it really well. And that's something I'm recognizing in myself, that how foreign I feel still from my own body. How can I not still completely feel it, connect with it, celebrate it in whatever shape and form I am, even, you know, not having even that judgmental mind. And then the free spirit in me, of course, it wants to explore more. I was in a relationship before, and then after the separation, which happened almost 7 years ago, I'm still barely dating. I'm not one of those women who enjoy casual dating. I believe in romance. I believe in beautiful relationship. I do manifest it and desire it, but I want my certain person. And every few experiences I had, again, I recognize, oh, how much I don't know my body, how much I don't even know about my sensuality, what I like, what I don't like. And these are the things, I think these are powerful, powerful things for young women to learn about, you know, because that's power. That's knowing your desires, your likings and unlikings, setting your boundaries, knowing what you truly are, what you truly enjoy. And these are the things like topics around, you know, into being a lesbian or gay, I'm gonna say it like that. So these are not open topics that we deal with back home in our countries, because it should be they are there, but they are always hidden. They are not seen. They are full of the stories are mostly full of shame and guilt and feeling left out. And there you come in countries like this, or traveling around the world, or Netherlands, luckily be one of the most beautiful countries to accept all this, you know, I don't know even how to call them. They are not a minority, but this special, beautiful community, and see them and honor them. And this is beauty in that, recognizing what you truly desire, whether you are a man and a woman, and really being honored and celebrated, even for your differences, the way you do love, the way you do romance, the way you honor what you truly want. And that's something, of course, was definitely missing in the culture that I was raised in. So it was not something that I was exposed to, but luckily when I came out, I got exposed to it. And I was so uh, like happy to see this, that you are free basically to be what you want to be and what you desire to be, and you are completely accepted. And that, you know, that act of acceptance brings so much self-acceptance as well. And that was so beautiful to watch, because there were so many things, of course, that I need to shed. And every time I see these amazing people around me basically accept themselves for the way they are, the more I become brave to fully accept everything around me, my imperfections, my flaws. And yeah, seeing different cultures so far has really widened my horizon. And every time, every day, every new thing that I witness gives me a new eye. So yes, there is a lot of shedding. It's true.
I want to
And
say your words and how you express everything, they're so rich and so how to say that. I do feel you really, even though you might say not, that you do know yourself well, and especially how you've lived through the different cultures, and also from the one that you came from. I mean, there's a lot that you know how to express and really kind of see what comes from where, and how to, how, where should it come together.
Well, true. Well, knowing myself has been a big, big part of my journey, especially since my separation. I mean, we all have that inner talk, right? We are constantly in conversation with that inner talk, and it's so amazing to witness it at some point, learning to become an observer of that talk. Because before you are so involved in it, in your 20s is a different stories, in the 30s in it is a different stories. That's where a lot of self-judgment and stuff comes. And back to your point, yes, since again the pandemic was kind of around the same time that I just recently got separated, and that solitude gave me a lot of space. That sacred pause, I always call pandemic kind of like a sacred pause, because we were kind of forced to still be still and slow down, like the whole world was forced to do it. And that's the moment of reflection. And that was the time I started to notice I want to get to know myself. Yes, true. And the journey of getting to know myself started, and that's where, yeah, you start to reflect, filter, see what you want to keep, what you want to let go, start integrating a new version of you. I always say my legacy is to create the best version of myself. So then, as many people I can inspire, or the next generations, we keep building that finer dimensions of beautiful, better versions of ourselves. So I did a lot of inner work, but meanwhile I noticed how I am disconnected from the physical body, the sensation of the body, getting to know the body. And I think as a woman, this is so important to get to know our body, to really get to feel and all the sensations in this beautiful body, like from the womb to all these beautiful chakras, beautiful feeling, because a woman is really flowy. I mean, one of my coaches would always say, like, it feels like a dance. Everything is so dynamic, it's full of flows, full of emotions and feelings. And I noticed getting to know the body is one of the most important factors to be able to feel, to be able to grow, to be able to see what you want, what you don't want, what do you desire, how to manifest, and how to basically dance with life. And that's something I'm sometimes very envious, because I see my teachers or yoga teachers, they really know their body because they are practicing with this beautiful art for years, and they are doing things, and that's how they can also guide a student, a person who is in their classes, because immediately when they see, they can tell what is this person is struggling with, how can they help her or him through the process. And for me, it's still such a big learning, and it's just a starting journey, and it's just starting to know, even though I know there is a lot that I don't know, if that makes sense, especially around my body.
I just want to say that because I mean, in yoga, you've got so many different koshas. If we look at Kundalini, there are 10 bodies, and your physical body is just only one of it. But I
Yeah.
understand, and I mean, if you're, I don't want to say you're comparing yourself to the other teachers, but what you're all sharing here and your whole inner self-reflection is what they might not have done yet.
Yeah.
So and that's what yoga is about, right? Also that whole integration, that whole union and expansion.
Yes.
No, and this is maybe a part missing for you, and it's good indeed then that you, if that's really the part that you want to explore, then that you indeed, get that mirrored from, from another teacher. But I think it's it might just be a kind of small step for you, even, with also becoming more consistent. Let's say if we're talking about yoga and becoming much more consistent within practices, because we do use the physical body, but it's not only about the physical body. Yeah, but then I think, it would be really interesting for you to how that would all come together.
And that's very true. That's why all this new direction of basically I don't know if I should call it a business, or my concept of acting and serving others
Mm.
is going, because I'm noticing even though I don't have a certain level in my practices, like a physical body, as you said, but I have a lot of inner work done.
Mm.
And the reason I fell actually into aerial yoga specifically was because I was doing, for example, before becoming pregnant, a lot of home yoga, like on the mat, on my own, like freestyling. I like freestyling things a lot. And then when I came here, suddenly when I found the hammock, it was 4 years I wanted to really uh, experience the yoga in hammock. I felt something about it that is going to be my thing, that sense of float and flow and being held by the silk. And the moment I tried it for the first time, I was in awe. Like the moment we went in the beginning into the womb, into the womb of the silk, and then at the end when we did the cocoon in the shavasana, there were so many things opening, and also the sensation of being able to do all these inversions and being able to challenge your body. So it's a combination of both indeed. I feel this certain practice with aerial yoga for me opened up many things internally and physically, because I also had to face a lot of sense of control, a lot of sense of fear in the hammock. I have to brave up. And that's something, it is back to your point, it is very advantageous for me, because I'm noticing, and even my teachers are noticing, that the students that are coming to my class, because of my compassionate nature, I'm quite a nurturer. That's one of my alchemy profiles. And because I have done the work, as you said, internally so much, I can see through them. I can see what they are dealing with, what they are fearful of, how to basically hold the space. So that thing from the inner dimension immediately comes out, and they feel safe, they feel trusted, they feel seen. I can see it even as an amateur yoga teacher, because my knowledge is so refreshed and new. I can see what they are exactly struggling, and I can guide them through. But then it comes sometimes to the getting to know the body. And I'm noticing my knowledge is not enough, because I am still building that connection with my body. And again, I think it's something, am I right or am I wrong? But it's something that goes back to my culture, that we haven't gotten enough opportunities as young girls to really connect to our bodies. It could be a product of nowadays lifestyle, the modern lifestyle, the way it goes. I also sometimes feel it in our own children nowadays. They are certainly not as connected as we were. We were out there in the nature playing, and now kids are entertained in a very different way, very disconnected, very connected to the screens and all this digital world, basically. So that is something that it's cultural, but it's also a product of modern lifestyle, I would say. But I'm intentionally working on it to get deeper to those layers, because I believe it has a lot of values.
I'm sure you're going to succeed in that. I mean, there's no end point, obviously, right? I mean, because life is constantly in movement. We are changing all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, everything that you're already kind of sharing here, that you're talking about, what you've experienced, I mean, it's so full and rich, which is really beautiful to listen
Thank
to. I've got one question that you mentioned, and I might have misunderstood it, because you said not judgmental towards the body, and I understood it in as that you mentioned it, that you haven't learned to be judgmental about your body. Is it you want to be judgmental, or it's to be
No,
not
I
judgmental?
was too judgmental towards my
You
body. And
were.
yeah, I
Okay,
was.
yeah, okay.
Yes.
And I just want to
Well,
say,
maybe
okay.
I still am to a certain point. I mean, it's never going to completely be gone.
Yeah.
But one of the things, for example, I can definitely share is like my hair is like this beautiful curly hair. And everywhere I go, I get so much compliment about it.
Hmm.
However, it was one of my biggest insecurities
Oh, really? Yeah.
since childhood,
Hmm.
because all my cousins, they have this luscious, gorgeous, flat hairs, and they look very girly and they look very feminine. And growing up, I was always feeling like this black sheep that is not girly enough, that is not feminine enough, that is not woman enough, that doesn't look very beautiful, perhaps, the how you basically uh, evaluate beauty. It really depends. But in my mind, in my child mind, I was all that. I was not pretty enough. I was not girly enough. My hair was my biggest insecurities. And it's so interesting. My mom was struggling with my hair. So you can see how much it affects because she didn't know how to style it, what to do with it. So she would literally take me to a boys' salon, like a men's salon, to cut it short, short, short,
Oh,
like a
really?
boy. And that's why I was thinking a little bit boyish. And I slowly, I think it's starting from secondary or higher grades, I started to grow my hair. But then I was constantly blow dry them out and try to make it straight and all that. Couldn't embrace the curl. And it took me years and years to not fully accept and embrace my curves, not having judgment over myself. Oh, you are not woman enough. You are not beautiful enough. Not only accepting it and start learning about them. I mean, it took me 30 something years, honest to God. It really took me 30 something years. And finally, now in the past 4 or 5 years, I'm absolutely loving my curves. And everywhere I go, there is no way I won't get a compliment over my hair. And it's just amazing. Sometimes I say to people, because I'm an open book to people, you don't believe that this was my biggest insecurity. And they don't believe me. They don't believe me. So that was the part about the judgment, basically, because we have so much judgment around different features of ourselves just because we didn't take time to get to know them. And we have this wrong belief that because this doesn't fit to a certain shape or type, then you are not that. You are not girly. You are not looking woman-like. You are is not beautiful because maybe most majority around you are different. And through our judgment, we are constantly holding ourselves back. We are judging ourselves. We have a certain belief of ourselves rather than getting to know ourselves and accepting ourselves for who we are. And the moment you accept, and the moment you truly accept, the beauty of it starts to shine. And people cannot ignore it because it becomes so beautiful. So I think this was just a hair example, but I think it's about everything. And that comment about judgment was about that. We normally judge ourselves too much. Like that judgmental mind is so active. I see it in my little one even. He is very open. He talks to me. He shares stories about him and his friend. And I often try to say to him that, believe me, I had it as a child. So don't listen to your mind all the time. The mind is not always right. Just observe it. Is it telling you the truth? Is that the truth or not? Just feel, see for yourself. Is it your power or is it just getting the power out of your hand? You don't have to listen to everything that your mind says. That's why it's so beautiful to get to know all aspects of yourself. So I have done inner work. I have done a lot of soul work. And soul is such a beautiful part of our being, of course. It's the source of our being. And then I'm now diving more to the physical body because I want to really get to know it, especially after divorce. As I said, like my ex was my only relationship. Like I got to know him when I was 18, 19. I was not dating before it or anything. And that was it, one and only relationship. I mean, how much does it gonna teach you? That also goes back to the culture, like that's something in the culture that you are not having a ground to, explore or experience because you think, yeah, if there is one, then that's the one, and you don't need to explore anymore, and you have to marry him, and that's the end, and there you go. I mean, it has a long story, that chapter that I'm not gonna get into, but I'm saying me as a woman, then I realized around age 33, 34, I don't even know what I like, what I don't like into a connection with a man or the intimacy part. And that's the parts that I'm understanding it's so important to get to know all aspects of you, from the soul, from the physical body, but also the mind, the power that mind has over you. That's the source of all the self-talks and the judgments and the things that's going to come out. So you have to be friend with your mind, right? But you have to also understand, what is it feeding you? Is it feeding you something good, or no, it doesn't worth the consumption and digestion? So that's the thing that was about the judgmental mind, basically. And that's what I learned, to have less and less. And the less I'm having on myself, of course, the less I have it on others.
And how
And it's
has your
become
mom looked at you when you moved away? And how is that whole your relationship with her further developed? Because I mean, if you're talking about your hair and that she just didn't know what to do with it because it was so unknown and maybe unexpected, not accepted. I mean, how has your relationship with your mom then further developed when you moved away?
Well, I always said that I'm learning a lot from my own child. I think through the years, she learned a lot about me and from me. So the relationship with my mom, the relationship has been always formal. Like, you have in our culture this deep sense of respect for the elders, basically. So for the older ones, you always respect them, you don't talk back. It's quite more of a formal relationship rather than friendship. That's why I'm building something else with my son, and it's sometimes very challenging because he really thinks I'm his friend. So then it's sometimes very challenging to keep some authority in between and discipline them. So it has been that way. And of course, they were not a fan of moving me away, even my dad. And through the years, unfortunately, because my ex-partner was not on good terms with them, I started to first really block myself. And it was a marriage that they didn't agree. I wanted it. So basically, I moved away. They were not that
Sorry
happy
to interrupt
about.
you. Is he also from Iran?
Yes, my
Yeah. Okay.
ex
Yeah.
was also in Iran. So we met in the university in the
Mm.
beginning, but he was 2 years older than me. And we were going all around the world because of he was a scholar and so on. But because of that, I started to make this bubble, and basically just the normal conversation. There was not much of a connection or anything. And it was until the moment that I finally was pregnant and giving birth to my son that my mom came to me to be with me for a couple of months. And that was the exact moment that relationship with my ex was very bad. And she really saw through me, that woman that is suffering. Because I think as a woman, a lot of women during their marital life, they experience a lot of things. And for certain reason, again, maybe it's in our culture, you don't open up even to your own mom, to talk about what you are experiencing, the challenges, to go deep. And then that was the moment she, I think, perhaps recognized herself in me a little, parts of the unhappiness of a marital life that you don't open up. I think every woman resonates. Even my friends, sometimes when I hold space for them, I immediately feel their pain. I think as a woman, that's our superpower as well, to be able to feel so deep. We feel each other so deep, even our pain, our emotional pain. So I think she felt that. And then she recognized how much through the years I was holding in, just because I didn't feel safe to connect to her or to open up or to express. And she felt, this moment I have to give her everything and support her in every way, which she did. Like, she was really there for me. And that was the moment I recognized, no matter what I did, whether it was a mistake or not. For example, at that moment, she could have just turned back to me and said, "We told you so," because they were against this marriage. And she didn't. She said, "It's fine." And all they did was even support during all these breakups and hard years that I experienced after my son birth until the separation. All I received was support. And that was the time I really develop a new sense of honoring my mom, honoring her pain, seeing her womanhood truly, and reconnecting with her because I noticed there is so much she's holding in. And she never had a room and a space to talk about it. So all those things that basically I was judging her because of a certain, behavior and thing started to slowly resolve, started to slowly make sense. Why is it that way? Because there is no that deep connection, there is no that safe space to speak it out. And I tried to rebuild it as a mother and daughter connection with her. So I would say it's still not easy because, of course, we don't have so much access to each other. And then with these situations nowadays going in our country is even becoming harder. And they always still try to hold back. I sometimes hold back and not say everything that goes in my life because we don't want to make each other worry. When it's a distance relationship, you always hold it in because you don't want the other person to worry about you. But I would say there is a much deeper connection very gradually, like a fermentation, literally, because I love it how you titled this podcast into identity, identity in ferment, right? Something like that you called it. So it is a work in progress, very slowly happening, but I see such a deeper bond. So if I feel something so deep in me that I want to share, I'm not holding back anymore. So I can share it with my mom. And I'm sure my mom has the same feeling and trust and connection with me. So if she feels something so deep, she will share it with me. And I know in her heart, she's so proud of how far I have come, how beautiful my hair looks, because she knows now that I get to learn my care. And she sometimes even asks advice from me because she has some curls. It's not as deep as mine, but when she wants to make it curly, then she says, how do you do it? Or what product you use? So it's beautiful. It's a beautiful relationship happening because I accepted and embrace everything that she is. I let go of as I said, when I release judgment from myself, I release judgment from others. And I think now there are a lot of depth of feeling, even though we are far away. So I am happy with where I am with my
And it's
mom
really
right
beautiful how it has developed and beautiful that it, through giving birth, now with your mom there, that she,
now.
has allowed it to feel and see you.
To see me break down, basically. I'm giving birth and it should have been the best experience ever, but I broke down and she was just holding me strong and tight, like you can do it and keep your power. And no, she's a big powerhouse for me now.
Yeah.
Took years and very slowly to build, but there is a big sense of trust and respect now there.
Thank you.
I really like it.
Okay, so you already touched upon the fermentation. Let's move into that. Because your work with fermentation through kombucha is such a living and cyclical process. So what originally drew you to it?
Yes, that story is pandemic. Well, what originally drew me to it? The thing is, I'm not a big alcohol fan, and it was during the pandemic that I was missing this beautiful drink because I lived many different continents. If you know, like from Asia and East Asia to Canada, a lot of parts of Europe, and especially in Asia, it's such a big culture. I mean, the original source of the tea and this culture is from China from 2000 years ago, and they are very big on ferment. It's not something necessarily in my own culture, but I really liked the bubbly drink and I didn't find it here. And okay, we are in this sacred pause, and why not? Let's try it at home. And that was the whole story began. People started to like it. I always had this entrepreneurial blood in me and I wanted to explore. So I started to take it seriously, basically, like a business and just go for it. Like I have this go for it drive in me that see the risk and everything, but it just doesn't care. And you live one time and just go for it. And the whole ferment becomes so beautiful to learn about it. I mean, I have always been a foodie. I love to cook at home. I love different ingredients. I'm a good taste maker, so I'm very creative. Like, and I don't need recipes. I just think and it creatively come and I combine things and then it works. It's always like that. The friends always compliment me. So it was a perfect match. Like I'm learning a new art. I'm exploring in my entrepreneurial side that I always wanted and I can make taste. And I started working with Horeca, the commercial sector here, very seriously, and I learned a lot from them. I did some certification work with different chefs and sommeliers, cocktail makers, you name it, and really wanted to keep this culture very natural because I know there are so many brands out there that they go to the bigger production and it becomes in the middle, the whole story of a ferment becomes lost. It just becomes another soda, unfortunately. And that's something I wanted to avoid at all costs. I was thinking I'm going to keep it like that. I don't want to even filter it. People kept telling me you should filter it because there are fruit particles in it. I said, well, that's nature. That's how it's supposed to be. It doesn't have to be that, clear liquid that is full of flavors and doesn't taste anything and is not even alive. It's all about liveliness of the product. So that's how the ferment journey basically started. And we started from this very kitchen that I'm sitting here from my under staircase. I put some shelf there and now moved to a little beautiful warehouse nearby. And I'm still doing it very traditionally. And there is so much I'm learning, and it's so amazing. Anything you want to master in life, I mean, I'm enjoying it so much, but anything you want to master in life, it takes time. Every layer, every little thing. And I'm constantly fine-tuning things, finding new ways to do things. And it's just a beautiful art. It's a big part of my own healing, this fermentation journey. So not only I'm healing the guts of so many in our beautiful communities and guests of different beautiful restaurants around, I'm also teaching it. I'm also really implying it in my life. I'm learning so much from the ferments. It's like
You dive a bit deeper into that. What you're precisely learning.
Well, what am I precisely learning? Exactly this, to become the best version of myself, to taste good, to start to love your hair or whatever you want to call it. It takes time. It takes a lot of processing, and that processing comes through those reflection moments, those hour we give ourselves, to basically layer by layer build this beautiful culture. In the kombucha, the culture that comes on top, the SCOBY, is the symbiotic culture of yeast and bacteria. That's the abbreviation. It comes from that bacteria in the drink doing the process. The bacteria is constantly processing the sugar to build something beautiful, which is a probiotics, which is something very healthy. And the layers start going on top, and it transfers to the next batch. So it's very beautiful. It's actually like our being, because that's what we do as cyclical being as well. We are cyclical being. So during the life, whatever experience we receive, we process. If we truly process it in a very nice way, we create this mother, the starter at the top that we can pass on to the next cycle, to the next generation. And then the result of it is the drink is every time going to become richer, more healthier, more beautiful, more fine-tuned. And I think that's how the process of the whole life is. So for me, this culture really taught me that, the art of ferment really taught me that all that is happening to me is actually for me. And to take it for me, I really need to take time to process it, however it feels right to you. Sometimes the process is during a yoga session. Sometimes the process is during the meditation. Sometimes the process happens while I'm playing with my child or doing activities. Sometimes it's through journaling. But I need to process it. I need to be more intentional with life. And when I process, then I create this beautiful starter at the top. and I can pass it on. I can pass it on to a person I meet. I can pass it on to a student that comes to my class. I can pass it on to the classes I'm teaching, to the workshops, to collaboration through this beautiful podcast. Because who knows who's going to listen to your word, and something inside them is going to shift.
Yeah.
And I think that's our biggest gift in life, to be able to share story and to pass on. And I think this ferment really, really taught me that. And it's amazing to see how this bacteria keep growing and growing. I mean, that's what happened in my house. I noticed I cannot keep these things here anymore. They need a bigger space. That's what's happening again. It's just if you allow them and give them a space and the environment that they need, they keep growing. And then I was thinking, if I'm going to be in full maintenance on this thing, it better make me money. It's a full-time job. So it is a full-time job to be alive and a cyclical being. It's a lot of process and ferment. So that's what I would call it.
Beautiful, yeah. It's yeah, you've just got it happening there, and it's really kind of showing you and teaching you life, basically.
Exactly.
So if we pull it a bit further, how would you say it's fermentation has contributed to kind of shaping your identity of or becoming, let's say, the woman within the next stage?
Yeah, well, it's true. You know, I see because now also, especially today, we are talking about multicultural during this podcast. But seeing myself being raised and born in Iran, living the country, living all different cultures, and really living because there were stages we were even 2, 3 months in different continents, different countries. I saw this sense of adaptability and always this curiosity to observe cultures. I love city touring, walking around, even people's pattern. And then I go within and start to do some inner work. And I think is exactly like that, is exactly these kind of things fine tune in me that I could pick from every culture basically what I want. I won't say there are no culture shocks or you know homesickness. These are all part of the journey also because you constantly go through those emotions for a reason. And I'm the one who always enjoy, for example, a sense of community. And it's so beautiful that I lived in all these big cities like Kuala Lumpur, Toronto, you name it, my own hometown. I lived in capital back home. So it's all this buzz. And now I ended up in a city like Maastricht, which is very charming and very small and beautiful. And I still feel so full. And this city really feed my soul. And I feel so alive. And is then I'm looking back, I'm noticing I have this beautiful circle of especially women around me who are holding me, supporting me, feeding my soul. They are there for me whenever I ask them. And every one of them had an impact and influence on my set of belief and self-belief and how I fine-tuned myself and how I fermented myself basically. Every encounter had something. Every location I lived had something. And it taught me so much. And it's like this beautiful big encyclopedia, basically, that you can always go back to when you are doing your processes. And you can deeply look into and do your process, do your ferment. And I think the new version is becoming such an empowered woman because I am very happy with where I am now in terms of my calling and purpose and the services that I want to offer. And it's all about that beautiful getting to know all your dimensions. I mean, I don't want to even discriminate, not only for women, but also for our men. I think they need that to get to know your mind, how you can use this powerhouse, get to know your soul, your purpose, your calling, and also get to know your body. So the new services that I'm creating is not only just a product, it's just not only about learning about this beautiful gut healing powerhouse of probiotics, doing workshops or offering the product, but beside the nutrition and that part, getting to know the power of your mind using productivity techniques because I did my coaching degree last year as well, and I have done the work through the years myself as a student with many coaches and mentors I still invest in my coaches and mentors. These are the biggest part of my growth because I need people like that to help me build what I'm building. So the combination of the gut and health with the coaching and mindset and recognizing what is the purpose of your soul and the yoga to get to really connect with your body, because it's amazing how much our body is intelligent. We think our mind is intelligent, but truly our gut is the true intelligence center of our body. That's why as women, before anything else, we would always feel what would our gut say. We wouldn't think or overthink and go to the mind. We would feel it in our gut, truly in our womb, in the center of our body, in the gut. What would it say? And that feeling was so strong, so vivid, so clear, and now we lost touch with it. And that's something I would like to bring it back to life, that connection, that knowing. So I'm practicing it in myself everywhere, every day. And I hope to serve and help many more to get back to that powerhouse. So that art of ferment is still working and things are being created, but it's becoming around this now, around gut, nutrition, mindset, coaching, and beautiful art of flowing in the house.
So if you were to give, let's say, one advice to the women who are listening here, and they might be living also between different cultures or constantly adapting, what should they trust about their own development as a woman?
If I have to give one advice, is like I in my 20s really liked traveling, really like seeing different places, living in different places. I had that heart of a nomad heart that I wanted constantly different experiences, move this country, that country. I was even influencing my ex. And then life happened and pandemic happened, and we are kind of trapped here in our own bubble. And those were really the turning points of my life. And one thing I learned is there's this beautiful quote also that it says the real voyage of a discovery is not in seeking new lands, but in seeing with new eyes. And that was a whole turning point that I wish for every woman, no matter where they are live, far away from home or within their root, that just start seeking that new eyes, seeing in a new way, even in your own country. Like if you only recognize that there can be another way. If I dig deeper, I can understand what I truly want. If you connect deeper to your body and your soul, you see so many different layers of the truth being buried underneath, and you can bring them back out, and you can make a change no matter which part of the world you are, whether you are in your home country still or you live different parts of the world. You don't need to constantly experience and see to seek new things, but you can see with a new eye, with a new layer, with a new set of belief. And that's what I noticed. Like I was thinking at one point, if I stop traveling, I'm gonna lose my spark. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna be like a dead person. And I'm doing much less traveling now. I do travel still during the year, but much less compared to before, really much less compared to the expat life we were living. And I'm noticing my life has never been fuller and I have never been happier, because every time I walk out of a door, I'm seeing with a new vision and a new eye. And that's the beauty of the life, because I see the growth every day in myself. Is not the same person. Every day I walk out of the door, something is either shed off, is more rooted in me. And it's such a satisfying, full feelings experience, and it's called inner voyage in my language. I always call it the inner voyage. I build my business around this, and I think the inner voyage is the most fascinating thing you can do for yourself. Discover the self from within. And that's what I would advise not every woman, but every human being, to discover the self from within.
Well, thank you so much, Noushin. This was a very rich conversation, and I know you love talking, but when you speak as well, I mean, it's so each word is so filled with colors as well. Yeah, so it's beautiful how you've basically weaved together, your whole where you're coming from, what it has meant for you, what has done to you, your whole process towards fermentation, which, if COVID hadn't happened, it's interesting to know as well if the fermentation would have happened, but it's beautiful that it has happened and what you all see from it and learn from it. So I'm really happy that you took us into your world of cross-cultural living, of fermentation, and of your deeper self. So thank you so much for having been a guest on this podcast.
Well, I'm very honored, and thank you very much for the space, for the platform, for offering this beautiful initiation of having this talk with me. And yes, it is true. Like none of it was planned. None is so interesting that you just flow with it. So nothing was planned and created. I never imagined myself through the years to get to these points or experience this or that. And it all happened, and I just start to be a woman and dance with it. So as my coach again says, the beautiful power of a womanhood is in flowing, dancing, and being able to dance with life. And I think the dance is going to continue and is becoming more and more beautiful even. So I cannot wait to experience more, God knows what, but we just wait and see. And again, thank you for the time and this beautiful content.
Yes.
Podcast. Really enjoyed it and really grateful for it.
Okay, well, thank you to you. Thank you to everyone listening to the Colours of Womanhood. And
thank you for joining us on the Colours of Womanhood. Whether you found a piece of yourself in today's story or it opened a new perspective, I hope it reminded you that your path, in all its colors, is valid, sacred, and worth honoring. If you're curious to explore your energy levels and reconnect with your inner energetic potential, I invite you to download Energize In, a free resource designed to give you a gentle yet powerful taster of what's possible when you tune into your feminine vitality. You'll find the link in the show notes. If this episode moved you, feel free to share it with a sister, a friend, or someone navigating their own womanhood. And if you feel called, leave a review or message. I love hearing what resonates. Until next time, keep listening to your body, nurturing your spirit, and embracing the full spectrum of your womanhood wherever you are in the world.